G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so good to see you. I do hope you are super well. I'm very excited to be talking about this lens in this box. Here it is on the ZF Orange Edition. This lens is known as the NoNikkor Nocty. This comes out of Hong Kong, and the very first time I saw it, I saw basically a rumored announcement for it. I reached out to Ultralab recently and said, I love your lens, it's beautiful, I'd love to share it with my audience, and it arrived today. It's so beautiful. I've had it in the hand now. I've shot a few frames with it. This video is not about that. This video is about the aesthetic and the fact that for me, the ZF journey, the ZF and the ZFC, we will see the Nocty on the ZFC a little bit later in this episode, along with a few other bodies, along with another lens that I'm excited to share with you. Again, we're just taking a look at these lenses. It's just very much a first impressions of what the lenses are like, what the build quality is like, and what could your experience be. This lens is clearly based on Nikon's Noct designs from the 70s and maybe from the 80s as well. I've been fortunate enough to spend some time with Joe's 55mm f1.2, and they look very, very similar to each other. What's great about this lens for a Z user is that it is a native Z lens. There is no F to Z adapter that's required in between the lens and the body. That's how we had to shoot with that 55mm 1.2 Noct from Nikon. The other thing that's amazing about this lens, just straight away, the first thing you realize from it is just the build quality. This focus is very smooth, it's very dampened, and it's also just got such a long throw. And if we listen, I don't know if you can hear that, but that is a fully clicking aperture that goes from 1.2 all the way out to f16, and that aperture is 11 rounded blades, which means the bokeh from this lens should be amazing, and it is. I've taken a few shots here just around this location. Absolutely beautiful. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I mean, we can see that it's an absolute aesthetic beauty here on the ZF in Sunset Orange, my absolute favorite. I know everybody's got their favorite color. We have to keep in mind that this is a fully manual lens, but of course this is an experience that some people are after, that some people will cherish. And obviously if we think about the Leica M community, and we now have, what is it, 3 or 4 variants of the M11, the original, the mono, the one with the image authentication. I think actually there's a fourth one which doesn't have a rear screen. So there's 4 M11s now. Clearly there is an audience for manual cameras. The beauty of what we get out of the ZF and with a lens like this is we get a lot of that sort of experience. We get a lot of that sort of aesthetic, but we also get some of the benefits of the modern world, including things that for me are super important is in-body image stabilization, as well as the ability to be able to shoot video. And of course, the ZF has a whole lot of other features, extraordinary features, like of course for the fact that it's an XPEED 7, which of course means you've got so many of the advancements that the XPEED 7 brings. For someone who is interested in this lens, if you're interested in this lens, it is absolutely delivering from an aesthetic perspective. In following videos coming very soon, I was just so excited, I just wanted to share this with you, but in following videos, I will take it out and shoot it. This lens is around 380 to 400 US dollars, depending on deals that are going on at the moment, so time of recording. And I think based on, if you've invested in the ZF or the ZFC, I'm not sure there is a better looking lens. And of course we are talking aesthetics when we're talking a ZFC, and we are talking those old school ergonomics. That's absolutely part of why somebody who has bought a ZF or a ZFC buys a ZF or a ZFC. The aesthetics and the ergonomics, that old school experience. This is the power of the ZFC in the classic black and silver look. I almost like the black and classic silver look better than the sunset orange, which is tough for me because I really love the sunset orange. But I have to say, if you just saw this camera and didn't know better, you could easily say this is from 1970 something or 1980 something with this lens on it. Quite phenomenal. Of course, on the ZFC, we have an APS-C sensor, which means a 50mm lens becomes a 75mm field of view equivalent. But of course, that 1.2 of light gathering capability is absolutely still achieved. We still collect just as much light through this aperture. Here we are on the Z52, and I decided to take the lens hood off just so we could get a better sense of the actual size of the lens. I got to say, that looks cool. As I said, this is a heavy lens, and so you can feel it on a camera like the ZFC and the Z50. Although the new Z52 has such a great grip, you can see here, even for a camera that's of this entry level, it's still just covering my bottom pinky there, which is quite amazing considering it is still a very small, compact camera. You can feel the weight on the front there, but I just don't see that as a big deal. Weight is not a major consideration for me most of the time. Of course, if I'm traveling overseas, I have to think about weight, but the rest of the time, I don't really mind what I'm carrying from a physical perspective. Okay, and here we are on the Z8. Now, interestingly with the Z8, because it's got a fair bit more heft to it than the Z52, this is a much better balance between the two. To me, it's quite interesting, the idea of putting a retro-inspired lens on an ultra-modern camera like this with all the bells and whistles. Now, for those that don't know, you have non-CPU lenses, and then you can tell the camera that this is a 50mm 1.2, and then it knows how to make the in-body image stabilization behave relative to this lens. Another thing that some people might ask is, does it have the little chip which actually talks to the camera and says, yes, this is the lens? It does not. It does not have that chip. This is fully manual. But there it is, cool. You'll get an idea of that 1.2. Now, remember, this lens is about recreating the look, the creamy bokeh look, and that sort of dreamy, soft look from the 1970s and the 1980s. So it has all of that. They still state on their website that it's sharp. And the beauty of lenses today is we have the ability to go back and look at optical formulas of old, yet we can add the coatings to lenses of new, which helps with things like chromatic aberration and other elements. Before we go, I want to show you just another upcoming lens that we're going to see reviewed on the channel in the next week or two. And this is a new lens from Meike. This is an 85mm 1.8. They're calling it a Pro lens. What's astonishing about this lens, because I have already done some shooting with it, I'll throw up a few photos now, not much, but a little. It renders beautifully, yet this is a very affordable lens. This is what I'm talking about with lens manufacturers now. They are just doing such a good job. More on this lens soon. And before we roll out of this episode, I have to say thank you to Godox for sending me this. That is coming very soon. We'll get something happening, maybe some macro portraiture if there's such a thing. I'm excited to see. This is the first time I will have worked with a Godox. I've worked with so many different flashes. I currently shoot with Pro Photo, which are gorgeous and amazing, and I use them professionally. I've owned Elinchrom, which I used for over a decade, and prior to that, I think I had some, can't remember the name, British brand. Anyway, lots of different flashes in the market, but as we can see, this is a 200 watt second flash. All right. More on this and the two other lenses coming soon. And remember, if you want to support the channel, we do have merch. So there's caps like the Canacone. And if you didn't know what Canacone stood for, and I've had this merch out for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. My great friend Seth Miranda, he grabbed one of these when it first came out. This stands for Canon, Nikon, and Sony. Links are below if you are interested in a cap, mug, a t-shirt. There's all sorts of ways to get Canacone. I've also got lots of other designs, which are not as broad, but more specific designs. I think some of them are quite cool. Check it out. Good hats, good tees, good tea towels, mugs, all sorts of stuff. And there's 2 manufacturing locations. I think there's one in Europe and one in the USA. So if you're in either of those locations, it's actually, this stuff is super affordable. It's not made by me, it's made by a third party, but I did the designs. I just wanted to keep this quick because I'm so excited about this camera and lens combo. We've got the holiday season coming up. I think, you know, photographers are hard to buy for because everything we love is so expensive. This is actually reasonable at around $380 to $400 odd. I know that's still an expensive gift, but you know, there are some people that are that special in your lives, aren't they? I mean, if they ask you to get them a camera, it might be $5,000. Can I have a Z9, please, for Christmas? Well, maybe you can't afford that, but this, which is like 12 times cheaper, if I got this in a Christmas stocking, I'd be pretty blown away. It's an option. It's a beautiful lens. Wow. Mwah, mwah, mwah. More coming from this lens soon. It's been so good to see you, and if this is your first time here, I would love to see you again. So please do subscribe, share, and like. All right, bye for now.